finding your feet underneath you. So let's ground ourselves first. Feet are hip width apart. Taking the time to really place your toes and to feel the four corners of each foot grounding you to the earth. And lifting the spine, getting a little taller all the way through the crown of your head. Let's roll the shoulders a little bit here. Both directions. Let's bring the shoulders all the way up to the ears and take a breath in. Hold them there for a moment and then release them. And if that feels good, savor it, enjoy it for an extra couple seconds. Let's do it again. Lift the shoulders up and hold, breathe in. Release them. One more time. Excellent. Before we do our forward release, we're going to work a little bit with our hips because the hips are part of this sacral chakra. One of the exercises that's suggested by the Anodea Judith book is to bend your knees, feel grounded through your feet, but start to sway your hips. So imagine some kind of beautiful music that would cause you to want to sway your hips. Your videos are off, nobody can see you. Take a moment to imagine what it would feel like to have the kind of enriching music in your environment that just makes you want to move, makes you want to dance, makes you want to sway, makes you want to move your hips. Start to sway those hips back and forth. And notice in your body, we get some sensation through the low back, through the hips, maybe through the legs. This is good yoga, paying attention to what's happening here. Now start to make small circles. So small hip circles. Keep imagining the music that would drive you to it. And then make the circle a little bigger. I've never taken a belly dancing class, but I imagine that some of this would take place in a belly dancing class. So if that helps, just imagine yourself really getting into that part of the body. Now make the biggest hip circles that you can make. Doesn't have to look good. You're doing it for the idea of movement and the pleasure of movement. So notice if any of this feels good. And then come back to stillness. We needed the foundation of our feet to support us as we made those movements. So let's do that again in the other direction now. Tiny hip circles the other way. Notice how it feels as you move this direction. Just breathe as you need to. Imagine that music in your mind is getting louder, causing you to want to make a bigger circle. Maybe you want to move your arms too. Why not? How does your body want to move as your hips move? Keep breathing and then make the biggest hip circle that you can. Notice what you feel in your body. Good. One more circle. And then come to standing. Notice if any of that felt good. And take an extra second or two to stay with the enjoyment. And then reground your feet and stand tall in mountain pose. A good foundation, but awareness of we're waking up the second chakra. Take a big breath. Shoulders a little lower, a little more letting go. Spine and crown a little taller for one more breath. And now into forward release. Drop your chin towards your chest. Take a breath. And start to roll down one vertebra at a time. And do it for yourself today. So I invite you to let go of any way that this is supposed to be done. You've done these roll downs lots of times. Let your body guide what feels good today. Take your forward release in whatever way feels good to you. Pause anytime that feels good. Move more or differently if your body invites you to. And if you're hanging from your hips, again, I invite you to start to sway. Move your arms back and forth. Your feet stay in place, but your rest of your body can find a way to move in this position. See how it feels to dangle the arms and move them 2 directions. And then how does it feel to move the hips or the low back? Take the whole body over to the right side for a breath. And then the whole body over to the left side for a breath. And then hold your hands at the elbows and try straightening one leg. Bend both knees and then straighten the other. Bend your knees, contract your core. So we are going to work with the core today. Contract your kegels, squeeze your low abdominals, and start to rise. Your head is the last part of you to float forward. And use your hands to find any points of tension in your face or any places where the touch of your healing hands feels good. Look for what feels great today. And when you find it, hold there a little extra. Definitely release your jaw. Lovely. Let's equalize. Take your gentle fist, flat side into the low back on both sides. Draw your elbows towards each other and walk your eyes up. Open your mouth and breathe. Walk the eyes back. Shake out the arms. Good, and let's take a warrior pose. Take your foot to point at the short end of your mat. Bend that knee. Line up your other foot at 45 degrees. And we did this last week. Take a moment to bend the knee and then straighten. Bend the knee and straighten. Just notice, how does the body feel here? Any of these poses where our legs are open do offer us an opportunity to get a little more in touch with the second chakra. You might become aware. There's lots of those types of openers today. And find how much bend feels right for you. And open up your arms and drop your shoulders down and look past your fingers and keep bending the knee for 3 breaths. Does any part of this feel good? Feel enjoyable? And it doesn't have to. You're just noticing if it does. Let's take a little tip to rest our forearm on our thigh. Bring the free arm overhead to make a long line from your far foot to your top fingers and breathe. And reach your top hand for the sky. If your back is strong today, reach your bottom hand for the floor. And 3 more breaths. I'm pretty sure that the microphone won't be picking it up, but my downstairs neighbor is an amazing guitarist, and he often will practice on Sunday mornings. And so I'm providing this yoga class as he's providing this beautiful music up to me from below. And I am savoring it today. Take your top hand and swish it past your face until both your hands land beside your front foot. Turn all your toes to face forward. We've got all our knees off the ground for 3 breaths here. And you're feeling the openness, inner thighs, groin, hips, all of those relate to the 2nd chakra. And bring the back knee down gently. Point the back toes. Scoot your front toes forward a little until you find the amount of opening that you want to have in your inner thighs and your groin so that we can really surrender here. We're going to hold several breaths, letting go and letting go and letting go. And perhaps you imagine flow. So that idea of the 2nd chakra's element being water and the concept of moving from the foundational earth chakra, flowing into the water chakra, which also offers opportunity for growth and change. This idea of flow. I don't know if any of you remember, if any of you tuned in to Dwayne Jackson. About 1.25 years ago, we had him join us for a chakra class, a Gitsan man from the Gittamaks. And he had wonderful things to say about being like a river, where you just flow around obstacles, you flow with the movement of the river. You're never stuck because you're always moving, growing, changing. So now let's walk our hands back, lengthening that front leg, finding some hip bone equality. So see if you can have hip bones equally forward from each other. Lengthen the leg and notice if there's anything to savor or if it's challenging. Either one, we're noticing. Pointing the toes towards the ground for breath. And then flexing the foot, pulling the toes towards you for a breath. Good, let's return to standing. One way to do that is to come to kneeling, and then squatting, and then using your strong earth foundation's legs to stand you up. so that we can warrior the other direction. Put points at the short end of the mat. See how it is to bend and straighten the knee on this side. Breathing as you need to. Again, noticing the second chakra, everything below the navel, the openness that comes through the inner thighs to the groin. And settle into the bends that you'd like to have today. Feel those feet still grounding you. Open the arms, drop the shoulders, 3 breaths. And taking a little tip to rest on the bent thigh. Free arm reaches past your ear and gets long through your side body for 3 breaths. Triangles, the top hand reaches skyward. If the back is strong, the bottom arm reaches forward. Got a nice long line between the elbows. One elbow to the other is nice and long, and maybe right through the hands. And breathe. Take your top hand, swish it past your face, bring both hands down to land beside the front foot. Turn all the toes to face forward, and let's hold here for 3 breaths. And drop the back knee down onto the mat. Of course, put any cushion you need to under that knee. Scoot your front toes forward. And we're trying to place ourselves in a really as comfortable position as you can in this pose. So make any of those adjustments so that it can be a good place to release. We're going to hold here for several breaths. Surrendering. Is there any part of this that's enjoyable for you today? And if so, I invite you to really stay in the moment of that. One more releasing breath here. Walk your fingers back as you straighten your front leg. Find your hip bone equality. And point the toes towards the earth for a breath. And flex the foot, toes towards you for a breath. Excellent. Find your way to a plank pose, although maybe you want a little sip of water first. Take a moment to know how your wrists are doing today so that you can make a decision about being in a full on your hands plank or maybe a forearm plank instead. we're going to go from plank into downward dog, or if you're doing a forearm plank to protect your wrists a little bit more, then you'll be going from forearm plank into dolphin, which is downward dog on your forearms, basically. So you're choosing forearms or full, and then straightening out the legs. We're holding here for up to 30 seconds. I'll count it out on my little timer, but this is your practice. So you can hold longer or shorter anytime you choose. You're also paying a little bit of attention to the wrists, to the hands, noticing if you do need to come down onto the forearms because the wrists are compromised today, that's all good. And noticing the heels. Can you really press your heels back? I'm on the toes and the balls of my feet taking weight. That allows my heels and Achilles to really get a nice stretch. So press my heels back. And let's take it into a downward dog. So if you're in the full position, you know what to do. Start to press your hips high and far back. And you might have to adjust the distance between your hands and feet. You find what works for you. If you're on your forearms, it's the same thing. Again, you might have to adjust, bringing the feet a little bit closer to really feel that sensation of getting the hips high and far back. Hold and breathe. And while you are here, can you get a little bit of a sensation of your Kegel? So the muscle that is internal to you, please excuse me being a bit graphic, but if you are ever asked to go to the doctor and pee in a cup and you have to stop the flow of urine, it's that muscle. So your internal muscle starts at your pelvic floor. See if you can give it a little squeeze here in this position. And also let it go. So notice how it is to squeeze it and how it is to release it. And let's bring our knees down. Oh, the sweet relief. Bringing yourself into any version of pose of child that feels good here. Can you savor and enjoy a couple of breaths? Round yourself back up. We're now going to go from a downward dog. We'll do a quick plank, downward dog, then into pigeon. I'll remind you that if the full pigeon doesn't feel right for you today, quick reminder that the alternate is to move on to your back and to hold one hand at the ankle, the other hand at the knee, and pull the leg across your body to get the same stretch into the outside of the hip. If you feel like full pigeon will work for you today, and then again, going into plank, just for a second or two, maybe giving that little squeeze to the core so the Kegel is activated, your low abdominals are pulling up towards your spine. And now pushing up into downward dog, spreading those fingers really wide, feeling the pads of the fingers making contact with your mat, pushing your hips as high and as far back as you can get them. Maybe trying the straightening one leg at a time, the bicycle move. Breathing as much as you need to here, any way you need to. Let's take the right leg up and we're going to hold for 3 breaths in three-legged dog here. Doesn't matter how high the leg is. We're just practicing putting weight on 3 points instead of 4. We're building strength in our arms, of course.
And strengthen the one leg that's taking your weight. Then we'll take the right leg that's up in the air and move it so that the knee lands in between your two hands. The back leg is way out behind you. We're coming up onto the fingertips now. Ensuring that the right heel lines up under the opposite hip joint. And starting to lengthen the spine. Is there anything here that feels good yet? Are you able to soften through your face? Let your shoulder blades drip and melt down your back. Breathe, of course. And imagine your hips and groin getting a little heavier towards the earth. Gravity is pulling them equally down. And if you like, your head can also come down. And we'll hold for 1 minute silently. Come on back to center. Find your way back to hands and knees. Unless you're doing the lying down version of the pigeon, in which case you'll just get ready to change sides in a moment. If you're on hands and knees, take a moment to do whatever your body wants you to do. Maybe it feels good to do a little cat-cow here. Or something else. So notice, how does your body want to move? Notice if that's enjoyable. We'll do it again for the other side. So if you're doing the full version, we're spreading the fingers wide, we're curling the toes to take weight. And let's go straight into downward dog here. We'll skip length this time. Press those hips far back and high up. And try pressing the heel towards the floor. Breathe as you need to. Feel the strength of your arms. So you're really long from your fingertips all the way up to your hips. And let's lift the left leg now, holding any height for 3 breaths. And take the left knee in between the 2 hands. Send the right leg way back behind you. Come up onto your fingertips. Start to lengthen your spine. So in addition to softening your face and softening your shoulders, we're trying to make a nice long spine, imagining making more room between each and every vertebra. So get really long from your tailbone all the way up to the crown of your head. You're extended here. Your heart space is open, chest is broad. And your hips and your groin are being pulled earthward. And you choose if you'd like to stay in this upright position or come down with your head. And we'll hold, surrendering, letting go for another minute. And come on up out of that. Excellent job. And I invite you now to turn onto your side. We've got a little more core work to do. If you're willing, of course, it's your choice, it's your practice. If you're willing, we're laying on our sides and we're having good alignment where we line up the elbow, which we're propped up on, with the hips, with the knees. And to line the elbow, the hips, and the knees up, we need the feet to hang out way, way back behind us. So see if you created that line in the body. Really be purposeful now about squeezing your kegel internally and squeezing these low abdominal muscles towards your spine. Once that's true, lift your hips up. I'm timing 30 seconds, but you get to choose how long or short you'd like to be here. Let's take the free arm and press the hand into the back of the head at the same time as you're pressing the head into the hand. So they're pressing against each other or into each other. And we're breathing. And you're noticing what you're feeling in your body. Certainly activating the core to be in this pose. And now come on down and change sides. We'll be savoring to come, don't worry. So we're on the other side now, elbow, hips, knees lined up, feet hanging way out behind us. Contract and activate your core and lift your hips. Bring the hand behind the head, press head into hand, hand into head. Notice if this side feels any harder or easier than the first side. Make sure that you are breathing any way that you need to. Good. And bring that one down. We're going to do it again on each side. And then we will rest, I promise. For variety, if you want to, you can extend your legs this time. So this time, the elbow, the hips, and the feet will be in a nice long line. Again, activate your core and lift your hips off the ground. Hands to back of head. Chest nice and broad. Shoulder blades nice and broad. And bring your awareness to that sacral chakra again. That space between your navel and your genitals. It's a big area. So we're not imagining one spot. It's not like just your belly button. It's a big area with lots of energetic movement there. Bring your body down. Let's do the other side. The last time. Extend the legs, elbow, hips, feet. Contract core, lift. Okay, so if we're breathing now in this last time of this core pose,
And by the way, I do know that there's a few of you that like this pose. I think there's more of you that maybe don't like it, but I do know of a few of you that really like it. Anyway, it doesn't matter, because if you like it, you're savoring it now. If you don't like it, you're going to savor the relief of coming out of it. Here we go. All the way down and lay on your stomach any way that feels comfortable for you and savor a short rest. Beautiful. Last week, we did the locust pose, and I'd like to do that again, and we're going to add a component this week. So the locust pose requires that we make a fist and that we put the pinky side of that fist lining up with the inner thighs, and that we're going to lay on the arms. So it's a little weird. I'm going to make a gentle fist. The thumb side of the fist is going to press into the mat, and then the pinky side of your fist is going to press into your thigh. Do that with both arms. And then take the weight of the head onto the chin as you breathe in, and shoot the leg up as you breathe out. Weight of the head on the chin as you breathe in. Shoot the leg up as you breathe out. And that's the move. Do that a few times. If it's feeling okay for you, you might do both legs simultaneously. You won't be able to get them as high up, but see if you can lift both your legs. Causes a bit of strength for the arms and some core work. Bring them down, good. Give you one more variation. See if you can lift the legs both, and then widen the legs and narrow the legs. Widen and narrow. Bring feet closer together. Widen the feet. Bring them together. One more time. Spread them apart. Bring them together and lower them. Oh, savor the rest. Maybe take a moment to lay with your head on each side of the face for a breath. Excellent. If you're seated, we're going to put our hands on our knees, palms down, and start to make little circles. Reaching towards one knee and then the other and back up, circling our bodies over our seated hips. So we made hip circles earlier. Now we're making upper body circles. My neck is just perched on top of my spine. I'm not really moving my neck at all. The movement comes from the sacral chakra, the area of the low back and the belly and a little bit the hips. So make the circle as big or small as feels right for you. Make sure you breathe through it. And let's add a little purposeful breathing. Breathe in as you circle forward, and then breathe out, forcefully circling back. One more on this side. And pause and change directions, but keep up the breathing. Breathe in sharply, circling forward.
Breathe out sharply, circling back. One more circle. Let out all your air. And sit tall and take the thumb of one hand into the palm of the other and inhale and raise. Just 2 easy breaths here. Hands together, 2 breaths. Hands up and then behind or in front of the neck. Full extension, breathing in. Slowly hands toward heart, breathing out. And a breath. Focused simultaneously on the second chakra and the heart. Namaste.